Hi, it's me, Molly. Welcome to my channel where we talk about true crime and psychology. Today I want to start with the Black Swan murder trial. I didn't know anything about this case until just earlier this week when I saw the hearing live on Long Crime Network. If you like watching trials, this is a really fun one because it's not a trial in front of a jury. It's just the defendant and the prosecutor and the judge, and the hearing is to conclude whether Ashley, the defendant, was justified in shooting her husband in their home under Florida's stand your ground law. So basically they're trying to determine whether the killing was justified, therefore no need for a trial, or whether it's, sketchy enough that they need to go to trial. So I guess the actual crime happened a couple of years ago, I guess. The story starts back in 2016. So Doug, in his 50s, he is living with his wife and daughter. Wife dies of a sudden cardiac event. His daughter found her in their home, very sad, when she was just a teenager. I think like 15. She was 15. So wife is dead. Doug says to his daughter, "Don't worry, I'll never marry again. I'll never love again." Don't say that because, and then that's where the story ends. Goodbye. No. No. So 9 months later, he meets a ballerina named Ashley. And they, I guess whirlwind romance. They get married 2 weeks later. Apparently they get married so quickly because Doug is like a big time Christian and he wants to keep the sanctity of marriage. So he goes and tells his daughter, "Hey, JK, here's your mom, your new mom. She's 9 years older, but everything's going to be fine." So the daughter, I forget her name, but she's really cute. She has a TikTok channel and she's pretty like glib and funny, and she's talked a lot about what's happened to her over the years. But so in her TikTok, she was like, "Yeah, cool." And then, it wasn't cool. And then, a couple of years later, Ashley murdered my dad. So here's what we know about Doug and Ashley, or the relationship. So, okay. They get married. Doug is ex-military, successful businessman. Like I said, a very devout Christian. He would text his daughter Bible verses every morning. He's mourning the tragic and unexpected loss of his wife, and then meets this 24-year-old ballerina, and they're in love, and she's gonna make him feel young again. I don't know why men do these things. But so they get married. And she is a ballerina, but she's 5'9", which is apparently disgusting for a ballerina. Apparently that is a disgusting, gross height that nobody wants. I don't know how tall you're supposed to be a ballerina, but it's not 5'9". She's too tall. So they want to start a ballet company in South Carolina, that is sort of size inclusive. They're, like all these different sizes, ethnicities. I basically just saw black and white girls that were maybe like, some of them were a little taller. I didn't see much size diversity in the ballerinas that I saw, but that's not the point. So she talks her new husband into opening this ballet company. I say she talks him into it. That's the way that a lot of the rhetoric around this case is, that like she's just like this mastermind that like made Doug unwittingly do all these things. I want to be careful about that because I don't know if that's necessarily fair. He's a grown-ass man. He is excited about this project with his wife. So they open a ballerina company. They open a I don't know what those are called, a company. But it's not going well, and the company is tanking. Oh, and additionally, Doug had gotten a vasectomy, but again, they made the decision together that he was going to get a reverse vasectomy and they were going to have a child. So she gets pregnant shortly after, which means that she can't really participate in the company as much as she'd like. I don't know if that has anything to do with why it went under, but it went under, and in kind of a catastrophic, like not quite Elizabeth Holmes way, but sort of, we're not able to pay the dancers. Doug is taking money out of his own account to pay them. Like he's lost $100,000 in the deal. It was like, a month long opening and disaster basically. So, there starts to become really bad blood between Ashley and Doug at this time. Ashley writes a scathing Facebook post like, oh, the new management has ruined the ballet company and blah, blah. And Doug's like, please don't do this. You're making it worse. Like, we're supposed to be partners, I don't like, there's a frustratingly little amount of details about sort of the individual psychology, which is, why I want to talk about it, because they never answer the questions I want I want answered. So what we do know is somewhere along the line, Ashley starts to get really paranoid and really sort of like mad at Doug. There seems to be a lot of we call it idealization and devaluation, which is like one day you're terrific, the next day you're fired. Think Donald Trump, right? So like some days they're in love, and on other days Ashley like is mad at Doug and hates Doug. Somewhere along the line, Ashley starts to believe that Doug is poisoning her, poisoning her and her unborn child. The way that people talk about this case, they're sort of saying that she made this claim, but they're not really saying whether or not. I think that she believes it. I think that she started to develop the delusion that he was poisoning her, which is not uncommon. We see it a lot. Paranoia is it's a symptom of borderline personality disorder. It could also just be paranoid personality disorder, where that's like the main feature, where you are just suspicious of everyone. And if you've ever experienced paranoia, like because you were on drugs or, for any other reasons, it's possible for anybody to experience it in their lifetime. It feels really real, right? Like you see evidence for it everywhere. When something feels true, we start to look for more and more things to support that feeling. And the more unhealthy you are, and the more sort of like, the less sort of lack of reality testing you're getting, the lack of grounding, lack of people, bringing you back to earth that you have, this can just become unfettered, and it can be an entire belief system that is sort of impossible to penetrate over time. So she starts to think that he's poisoning her. And, and one of the reasons that I think we know that she believed it is that he sent her some tea, because they had separated, they were living in different states. He sent her some tea, and she went to the police and had it tested for poison. So that's evidence that it's not that she's just making up these claims to get something. It's not pure manipulation. It's based on a feeling. It's based on her belief. So anyway, and they go to trial for a couple of days, to determine whether or not she's being poisoned. I think she's trying to either get custody of the kid or she's trying to get Doug away. The judge says that there is not a scintilla of evidence, not just no evidence, but this maybe, but we can't prove it in court. But no, this is not happening. She was not able to prove any amount of abuse at all. So after that, apparently, I guess she was all like, all right, it's cool. I like you again. Let's try again. And Doug is like, yeah, let's, woman that thought that I was poisoning you and your unborn child. Okay. So I don't know. They go back and forth. So some of the stuff that Doug may or may not have done that has come up, that the little bits of evidence that he could have been maybe abusive, or like, Ashley's claims were valid, particularly leading to this culmination of shooting in self-defense, right? Are that number one, he shot a gun in their home, shot at the ceiling, which, we don't shoot guns in the house, Doug. That's not okay. He told people that it was very regrettable, like they were in a fight, and he really regrets it, and it was terrible, and he feels really bad about it, which, he's showing contrition, which I think is something. Like, there's the, documented, I don't know if it's documented, but, witness testimony is evidence, right? I think his cousin and his friend said that he was regrettable about it, and he admitted it, She was like, I don't feel safe. Like, she was very, she definitely cited that in her "here's why I'm breaking up with you and you're a bad husband," case. So there was that. Both of them total gun nuts, by the way. Doug had a bunch of guns. Ashley didn't just have guns. She had concealed, I mean, they were both concealed carriers. It's fucking Florida, but she kept at least one gun on her person at every time. I thought I heard multiple guns. I'm imagining fucking G.I. Jane, the ballerina. But if that doesn't speak to her paranoia, this 5'9" ballerina did not feel safe, and I think before Doug, she was carrying around these guns. I don't think it was just him. So he shoots a gun in the ceiling. The other thing that they said he did was that he punched a dog. He punched his dog. Which, if you're Arnold, you can punch a camel. If you're Doug, you can't punch a dog. Dude, don't punch a dog. And if you punch a dog, don't admit to punching a dog. People will lose their mind. I think you could punch a woman and get forgiven sooner than you could punch a dog and get forgiven. I'm fixated on the word punch because this is very visceral, right? And I've seen the picture. It's an adorable golden retriever. Either he punches golden retriever in the face, or what I saw in the hearing, what the cousin said was that he said he didn't punch him. He said that the dog jumped up on him and he kicked him away, he pushed him off of him violently or kicked him or something, in a way that was more than he wanted to, where he felt remorseful, where he regretted. I don't know if you've ever done anything to your dog that you regret, yelled at them, kicked them off the bed. Never. But, anyway. So those are the two major things that have come out that suggest that he was maybe a bad husband. I need more, I need some more what he actually did to Ashley. I haven't seen it, but I guess Ashley wrote him a scathing letter when they were, when she was trying to break up with him, one of the couple of times that they broke up, where she called him, really controlling, and that she feared for her life and all of these things. I think that we can temper that with her paranoid personality. At the same time, not to stereotype, but dude is ex-military, a Christian man can be a little these are the rules. I don't know. His daughter is he's a great man, never did anything wrong. I had a great, relationship with him. A couple of different, cousins, friends have said, great guy. So I haven't seen much corroborating the fact that he was an abusive husband. So let's see, where are we? So Ashley, I think she's living in Florida with her mom. Forgive me, I'm not sure about the geography. She's with her mother, and her mother are starting to get into this folie à deux of, yeah, Doug is a bad man and we need to keep him away from the baby. I think she has the baby. And before this, she's lodged all these complaints versus the poisoning. She says that she did a CPS report on the teenage daughter, saying that she had been neglected. That was proven to not be the case. So she's trying all of these litigious means to keep Doug away from the baby. And, you know, I'm curious about the motive there. Like, I don't know if there's really much financial gain in that. I didn't see anything about why she would sort of like marry him and have this like long-term grift to get pregnant by this man, keep the baby, and then like keep him out of their lives. It seems to me that this must be the result of like a sincere belief that Doug is a bad man, and she sincerely goes back and forth on it, or I don't know. The only way I can make sense of it is that she's following her own delusions, or that there's something that we don't know. There may be a financial motive that I'm not aware of, but it doesn't really make sense why she's so obsessed with keeping Doug away from the baby, unless she sincerely believes that the baby is in danger and she's in danger. You know, her mom believes it, she believes it. There's some weird united front on this. At one point, Ashley tries to convince the teenage daughter that her mother was poisoned by Doug. So she starts to believe this as well. So what eventually happens, you know, the reason for the season is one day, I think the baby's 3 months old or something. Doug comes over to the home that they were sharing in Florida. He's gotten like an apartment off away, so like that's important to the case, because like it means that he's trespassing, that it's not his property. So he comes over, differences, and she shoots him. I think she shoots four times. He gets hit twice. Original reports were saying that he got shot in the back. That's not true. It came out in the hearing that he got shot in the side. So, you know, that could mean anything. And then he gets shot again in the leg. He dies an hour later in the hospital. I think what makes this story complicated is, okay, so after Ashley shoots him, she comes running out. She's like, I shot my husband, blah, I'm in danger, blah. So that's a sincere reaction, right? Like that's somebody that believes that they shot their husband due to self-defense and is now immediately going for help. I mean, it's somebody that believes that, or at least wants to make it look that way, right? I guess that's what like the sort of cynical interpretation is. It seems to me in the telling of this story, people want Ashley to be like this master manipulator. Like she's like sort of set the stage for all these things. And there is some evidence of that kind of premeditation. Like there's this whole thread where she's sort of talking to Doug, like, yes, they're going to reconcile, but like she told people she clearly knew that they weren't going to reconcile. And then she leaves him this scathing letter, you know? So there's like, she's a couple of steps ahead, which is weird. I don't know what the subterfuge is for. And yet I can't think of any clear motivation other than she truly believes that Doug is a bad guy. And he may be, you know, I mean, it may be that there's a little bit of truth, a little bit of not, right? You know, when I used to work in inpatient, I had, there was a client on our ward who, she seemed really normal. You would talk to her and it would be like, I don't remember why she was there, but she was in a really bad, relationship. Like her boyfriend was psychologically abusive, emotionally abusive, maybe a little physically abusive. And that part seemed credible enough. She talked about like, you know, a pattern of behavior that made sense. And she didn't present like somebody, there was nothing to gain by her coming to a mental hospital and talking about this. But and you talk to her and it's like, okay, why are you in the psych ward? And she was on like a more acute level of she can't go to regular groups and stuff, because what they told me was that she was in psychosis. And I was like, she seems perfectly normal, right? But then she starts saying things like, Yeah, and he's getting his friends to follow me around town, like he's got people waiting at the bus stop for me. He had a man follow me around in Target, and he's poisoning my food. She was convinced that he had people stalking her. They call it gang stalking sometimes. And that she was being poisoned. So this is an instance where the abuse is real, and then sort of due to the acute stress, or maybe a pre-existing sort of like tendency for psychosis. This girl could have been on the brink of a schizophrenia diagnosis for all I know, but you start to see things that aren't there. It starts to get worse and worse in your head. The abuse becomes sort of personified, maybe in ways that make more sense. Maybe it may be sort of a cry for help, like, look at what he's doing to me. If the abuse is, emotional but not palpable enough, maybe the psyche wants it to be more real. So it's like, he's not just hurting my feelings, he's, poisoning my smoothie, right? So that's what this case kind of reminds me of, that she started to develop a sincere belief that she was being poisoned. So when he comes over, who knows what he did, she believes that she's in danger, which I think makes it more complicated. I think that if the state can prove that he wasn't abusive and he wasn't a danger and there was no imminent threat, which the hearing looked pretty good for that. I didn't see much evidence for that. If the hearing was the trial, I would, I don't know. I'd need more. I don't want to put a woman in prison for years and years based on what seems to be true, right? Like, we need more, but it's not looking good. But I think what's confusing about it is that I don't think it's as simple as like she planned this to keep this man away from her baby. I think that she probably believed it. I don't think that in Florida, just because you feel like your life is being threatened due to a delusion, that gives you the justification to shoot somebody, Although, I don't know. I mean, like, the language is a little strange. It's like, okay, it needs to be like this imminent threat where, like, you believe that your life is in imminent danger, right? So if that's true, even if it's not, I don't think an insanity defense is appropriate. Like, she's pretty lucid otherwise. Personality disorders are not is not insanity in the eyes of the American judicial system. So those are my thoughts on that case so far. I appreciate you sticking with me. If you actually watch this, this is new to me. So thank you very much for listening, and it'll get better. Thanks.